Thank you for waiting. Today session we're gonna talk about managing BYOD, bring your own device, like user own device using MobileIron. And this is Mohan Kumar. I'm the senior pre-sales consultant for MobileIron Redington. And if you have any question during the session, you can always use the Q&A session, and I'll try my best to answer at the end of the session. So today's session, I'm gonna give very brief about the solution and the architecture of the solution, and gonna show you a quick demo. Then we can get into the Q&A session. Okay, so we are talking about the three main operating system of the mobile, iOS, Android, and devices. So nowadays, users are using their own devices, whether to access email or to access their shared folders or SharePoint or even to their internal application. They are using either their mobile devices or laptops. So how the corporate or the company can make sure they are accessing the data in secure. So let's have a look. So with MobileIron, we have a single pane of glass, single dashboard for configuration, all flavors of operating system, whether it is iOS, Android, macOS. It does a single dashboard, and you have a centralized policy. For example, if you're setting a generic policy which applies for iOS and Android and Windows, you can push it from a single policy engine. And they have like millions of devices currently managed by MobileLron. So traditionally, people started using laptops or desktops to access their corporate resources, and they started moving to the mobile devices. And similarly, the infrastructure they have on-prem data centers, they are also moving to the cloud. So now it's not only the admin part to secure the infrastructure, they also need to make sure how the user are accessing the data securely. With MobileIron, we have like more than 15,000 customers, and they have leaders in past 7 years, and they are holding 53 total patents from the solutions. And these are the certificate trusted by the MobileIron. So like I said in my previous slide, initially the traditional way of securing the data, it's like the IT usually have a perimeter firewall, they have a data center, they have VPN. So users, whenever they want to access their resources, they'll have to get into the VPN to access their internal resources. Now, since people are accessing from their mobile devices, either the data on-prem or data on the cloud, trusting the user alone, it won't be sufficient. So the IT has to get some policies and compliance in place to make the user securely access their corporate data. This is the high-level architecture of MobileIron. So let me put it on the high-level architecture, and we basically have two servers in the DMC. One is the EM console, and other is the Sentry. EM console is the heart of the solution, which is used to manage policies, configuration, devices, users, and everything. Sentry is just acts as a gateway. So upon successful authorization and authentication from EM console, Sentry allows access to the backend services, whether it is on-prem resources or it's in the cloud. Sentry will allow the access to the backend resources. So if you notice this orange, it's a logical secured container. So when the user is onboarded using MobileIron, a logical container will be created, and all apps or application which are pushed through MobileIron will be placed inside the container. So the main reason behind it, whatever happens inside the container stays inside the container. Even if any malicious app installed by the user, which is outside the container, trying to read any data from all app installed on the same device, it cannot able to get anything from the data which is residing inside the container. Okay, on the left, these are the various products from MobileIron. The first one is a EM client. It acts as an agent. So this will help to make sure the device is connected to the EM console, authenticated, and authorized to use the backend resources. And this also helps to receive any updates, notification, or policy or configuration being pushed by the admin. And if you notice, there is something called Bridge. Bridge is just a platform for managing and controlling Windows 10 laptops. So Bridge will be used to push PowerShell scripts or any executables to be installed to check any antivirus is installed on the Windows laptop. Bridge will be used as a platform. And access is something to connect to the backend cloud resources like Salesforce, Dropbox, OneDrive, or Office 365. So access will check whether this particular user has it's simply an access control policy. So it will check whether this particular user is authorized to access the backend resources. Upon checking the compliance, whatever met or set in VM console, then it will provide access to the backend resources. And the next one is I'm just giving you a brief, so I will have a detailed view in the coming slides. So next one is the EM enterprise app stores. So the IT has an option to publish apps through the enterprise app store. So this will be an additional app store for the BYOD user-owned devices. If the device owned by the company, the IT can block access to the Google Play Store or iOS App Store totally and allow only Enterprise App Store to be published, and user can install only app published through Enterprise App Stores. And other is a secure email and secure docs at work and web at work. This is a help at work, which is a licensed team viewer, so that the IT can manage or any issues faced by the user. They can simply take remote action and remote view and help the user to overcome the issues. And this is a tunnel. Tunnel is something like a VPN, but this is specially for a particular app. So the IT can decide to initiate a per app VPN to a particular targeted backend server. And the final one is the authenticator. So this authenticator is used for a multi-factor authentication. So this is the very brief. And if you notice something, there is something called Mobilelron threat defense. So I'll give a short brief after end of this session. So these are the various UEM apps: email plus, docs at work, web at work, and help at work. So tunnel, like I mentioned, tunnel is a VPN which is established on the Sentry. So when the mobile is authorized to use the backend resources, and based on the configuration being pushed, the per app VPN will be triggered, and the tunnel will take the traffic to the backend resources. So you'll have a tunnel for per app VPN. You don't. There are public apps available on the Google Play and iOS App Store. So if you want to use the publicly available app, connect to a backend resources, tunnel is the only option. So when the user doesn't need to do anything on the device, they don't have to manually open or connect to the tunnel. The moment they open the app, automatically the tunnel will be triggered, and based on whatever the authentication has been set, it will be connected to the backend resources. Even they can able to make use of Safari or Chrome as enterprise browser and make use of the tunnel to access the backend resources. And the IT admin have a granular control, which user can have access to the tunnel, and which application needs to be given tunnel, and which each application can have a different tunnel to connect to the different backend resources. Mobilelron Bridge, it's like I mentioned in the brief, it's just a platform for pushing configurations or policies or any group policies for the Windows 10 machines. Threat defense, Mobilelron threat defense, Mobilelron is the only vendor who has integrated the threat defense within the single UEM client. So this will check. There are different type of attacks like silence device attacks, network level attacks, or device configuration changes. For an example, if a user wants to use any VPN or randomizer on their mobile device, they need to install a profile, okay, to make use of it. So this profile might be a genuine one, or this profile can be malicious, it will try to read data from other applications. So when MTD in place, this will check if the profile is really genuine or not. If it is not genuine, it won't even allow the user to install it. The moment the user try to install it, it will give an alert saying like the profile you are trying to install, it's not a genuine one, or it tends to be a malicious one, and it won't allow the user to install it. So everything happens offline, so it doesn't need to connect to any MTD cloud or MTD server to get the remediation fix. Everything happens on the device itself. So I have a separate slide for that. So once we have time after the session, and then I can able to demonstrate on the MTD. And we are also having a separate webinar only for MTD. Okay. So this is how the dashboard looks like. So you can see the number of devices by status, number of devices by compliance, by operating system types, and by ownership, whether it is a company owned or it is an employee owned. And this is the enterprise app store. So the admin can able to put their own in-house developed apps, or they can also get applications from iTunes, Google Play, or Windows, and they can make it available. So this can be distributed based on the, if the solution is integrated with LDAP, and this can be distributed based on the LDAP group. So the HR department will get a separate set of apps, and the IT department or the finance will get a different set of application based on whatever that one chooses. And you can also have a customized terms of service before enrolling to a Mobilelron. So this is completely customizable. So you can always put your own logo, your own content, and you can make your user to accept the terms and condition before enrolling any type of mobile device. And this is something very essential. So user always have this concern when the IT wants to put something on the user own devices, they always have the concern what happens to the privacy, whether the IT is monitoring their calls, logs, or their media. So this is to ensure this cannot be like customized. So this is making the user to ensure like company are not seeing any private data. Private data remains private, and what is accessible by the company it will list out. First, like personal email, text messages, personal contacts, photos, videos, voicemail cannot be accessed by the Mobilelron or Mobilelron admin. Company can only access company shared data, or they have certain privileges, which I can able to show you during the demo. And there is something called space. For an example, if company is having a head office in one region, and they have a different branch office in across regions, and there is one marketing team which is common for all regions, so they can create spaces for either the region based or the department based. The reason behind is each space will have their own admins and their own set of users, and within each spaces they can integrate with their own local directories, and they can have policies and configurations created for their LDAP groups and users. Apps at work. So this is where the admin can get apps from in-house application or publicly available application, and they can also have their own featured apps. They can also have role-based contents and push to the particular users. So this is how it looks in the iOS, Android, and Windows, the enterprise app stores. Docs at work serves two purposes. The iOS is capable of opening any type of attachment natively, whether it is a PDF file or Word file. The iOS can able to open the attachment, but for Android, it's not the case. So Docs at work serves two purposes. One is to open attachment in the Android, and other is to have access to their shared file repositories, whether they have a on-prem local file share or a local SharePoint, or even if it's on the cloud, SharePoint or Office 365, Dropbox or Box, or OneDrive. So they can able to connect to there, and the user can able to log in and have access to their files and folders which is on the shared. So the recent docs@work, work, it's like we have DLP in place. So the files which are shared using docs@work, the user cannot able to move it outside the container. So anything stored inside the container stays inside the container. So for an example, if a user receives an attachment through their email, and this attachment can be opened only through docs@work, it cannot be opened through the app which are outside the container like WhatsApp or Facebook Messenger. So there is a difference in the apps AppConnect and the third-party app. So whatever the app have showed the email plus docs@work and the web@work, they're all by default AppConnect enabled. So when I say AppConnect enable, it's a terminology used by Mobilelron. So it will have the DLP features by default enabled. And if you have internal application developed in-house, you can also make that application as an AppConnect enabled app. So to do that, there is a process of wrapping for iOS and Android. So the app has to be wrapped and has to be re-signed, and they can be published using the Enterprise App Store. So once it is gone through this life cycle, so this is how it works. So you have an encrypted app, and it will be wrapped using an on-prem tool, or it's using a cloud tool. Then it has to be re-signed by the developers. Then they can distribute using the Enterprise App Store, and it can be installed on the devices. So with using that, you'll have a DLP enabled. So you'll have control like copy, paste within the container. So anything copied from docs@work, for an example, can be placed only within the containerized application. For an example, you copy something from the email plus application, and you can paste only within email plus, or you can paste only in web@work or docs@work. You cannot paste it outside the container. For an example, Facebook or your notes or Chrome or any application outside the container. And you also have control on the opening. So this can be restricted for opening any type of attachment outside the container. And you can always have a secure passcode apart from the device passcode. So this passcode will be used to open only for the AppConnect enabled apps. And you can always have a block screen, block screen capture, and in the Android, and you can also block the print in the iOS. And you can, if the app needs to have access to the camera, you can always block it in the Android. So this is the difference between public app and in-house private app. So public app like Facebook or WhatsApp or Google Chrome, you cannot wrap it. You cannot make publicly available apps as a AppConnect enabled apps. Only in-house developed app you can able to wrap it. So what if company has a publicly available apps and they need to access their backend resources? So the only thing, you cannot wrap it, you cannot have a DLP features on it, but you can authorize it. You can authorize a publicly available app to open access to the Sentry, so that Sentry will take the app traffic to the backend on-prem resources. That is something we can do. Web@work, it's again an AppConnect enabled browser. So this will have a native like experience, and you can always have a per app VPN tunnel. If you have multiple browser based application, and each application has a different set of servers, you can have an individual VPN created for each application. So whenever these applications are open, automatically that particular VPN will be triggered and will connect to the backend resources. So you can have a data containerization. Even you can secure data. All content will be encrypted, even the cache and the cookies. And you can always have the role-based content. You can have a set of bookmarks or set of VPN configuration pushed for the IT department, and different set of configuration and different set of VPN push for the finance or HR department. And like any other AppConnect apps, you always have the secure passcode for opening the web@work. You also have the DLP, same DLP features how you are getting in other AppConnect apps. You can block opening, you can block copy paste, block print, and even if you receive any link on your email plus, upon clicking the particular link, it will be opened only in the web network, not in the native browser. And any email link present on the web page, upon clicking on it, it will only open the app within the container. It won't even open the local mail or local Gmail client. And we can also have couple of compliance policies that if the device is jailbroken or rooted, or someone try to remove the MDM profile, or you can also have unauthorized app blacklisted. So you can have a list of application to be blacklisted, and these will check whether the device is compliant or not. If the device is not compliant with any of these condition being satisfied, then it will block access to the center. It means if the device is not compliant, the user cannot access the corporate resources. So this is the key difference. So by using web at work and using the native Safari and the tunnel, so you have encrypted browser data on the web at work, and you have a selective wipe. If the complaints, like I mentioned, you can have complaints policy to be set. And if the device doesn't meet any of the complaint policy, you can have a selective wipe, means the user cannot have access to their corporate data. And even if they have email plus configured, if the complaint is not met, automatically the email configuration will be wiped out. And you can have a secure passcode for the browser. And you'll have the same web at work configuration for both iOS and Android. And you will have the DLP features enabled, copy, paste, open and restriction. And you can also block sharing using third-party application. And apart from this, both using Sentry with Safari and web at work have URL whitelisting, blacklisting, and you can also push the bookmarks to the browsers, and you can also have a single sign-on enabled. If your application uses a single sign-on, it automatically takes the authentication, and it will automatically logs into the server which is trying to access using the browser. And you can also have the VPN access control policy based on the device posture, like the complaints policies. And this is the email plus. So like I mentioned, this is again a AppConnect app. So it will have a native app-like experience, and you will have DLP features like I mentioned in my previous apps. So this is how it looks on the Android. So you have, I'll show you a short demo on this. And you have similar to like any AppConnect, you have independent encryption, block copy paste, separate application passcode, and you have secure data in motion. For Windows 10, it's like you just have the system imaging over there, and you have the embedded data security, and for complex workflows, you have automated workflows. So you can push the configurations automatically, and you'll only secure the network if you can have the Windows secure even in any network, even if it's connected to their home network. You can make sure it has a secure, and you don't need to have a multiple console to manage the Windows laptop. It will use the same unified EM console to manage the same Windows 10. And this is how Mobilelron uses to provision a Windows laptop. Initially, it has to be provisioned, and the configuration will be pushed. And based on the configuration, it will check whether the policy and protection are enabled, and it will also check whether these application has been whitelisted or blacklisted. So any application being pushed by the admin will make sure it is installed, and you'll have a compliance policy set if the device version or some blacklist application is installed or not. You can have multiple complaints, and you can always have the end of life. So with Mobilelron, you have secure data at rest, secure data in motion, and secure cloud services. So with data at rest, you have the EM can be a cloud or it can be a core. So whatever you wanted to do for the devices remains the same, meaning the features remains the same. The only thing, you'll have an on-prem core, and the cloud will have the Mobilelron cloud. And secure data in motion, you have Mobilelron tunnel and Sentry, and you have cloud services for the access. So let me show you a quick demo. So this is the EM console. So it is showing like device and compliance. So you're connected to Mobilelron cloud server. And if the user wants to send any notification, the admin wants to send any notification, the user will see the push notifications over here. So I can. So this is a UEM dashboard. So here you can see the device OS type, invitation state, and by the device model. So you can go to devices. You can see the list of devices being registered. So what I'm doing, I'm just sending a push notification. Send a push notification. Next. Send. So the user will receive a push notification like this. And if you go to my devices, show my devices, it will ask for, it will show what are the devices active for the same user. So I have one iOS and one Android managed under the same Mobilelron username. And you will have settings showing, you can check for the updates. You can this is where you can see the privacy settings. Personal contains private, so the user can see what are the content cannot be accessed by the Mobilelron admin, and what are the accessible by the company. So again, device location, you cannot enforce it on the BYOD devices. So it will ask for the user permission, and it's up to the user whether to grant permission or to deny the permission. And for the reason installed apps, it will only get the names and version installed on it. The reason behind it, so the user or the admin can able to check whether any blacklisted application been installed on the devices. And this is the enterprise app store. So here you can, the user can see the, this is again customized. It's a web clip, so you can have your own logo, your own content, your own featured apps, so your own categories. So if I go to business, it will show the application. So it's showing currently there are two apps, Mobile Email Plus and Talks at Work. And like, it's up to the admin, they can how the user wants to update their apps. Either the admin can push the updates automatically, or the user, like how they are updating their app, they can go to the updates and they can check for any new version update is there. Okay, and this is the email plus. Since I have it's a secure app, I have enabled authentication, and this authentication can be integrated with the face ID or touch ID, depends on the device. So the moment I open email plus, it is asking for the authentication. So upon successful authentication, it is taking to the email, and you can send, this is how the user will receive the invitation from the Mobilelron. So the user will receive, and they can simply click on get started, and it will install. See, the moment I click on get started, it is opening in the web at work. It is not opening in the native Safari. So the reason behind is this web at work email plus everything inside the same container. And let's see what happens if I open an attachment. This is a dummy PDF, and you see there is no way the open in attachment, it's like disabled. And this is a secure web at work. So you can, it looks like a native web experience. You can have your google.com. Okay, and this is the Talks at Work, and you can connect to your currently for the demo purpose. I connected to my personal Dropbox, and you can see the shared disabled. The reason is anything you are accessing the internal resources or shared files, you cannot able to share the files to the third-party application. And you can also, if you have downloaded, you can always go and check it in My Files, Recents, and you can always have the offline files to be stored. And this, the admin can allow the user to connect to their own network drives if the permission is enabled, or they can push the configuration automatically from the core itself. So this is how it looks on the iOS. This is how it looks on Android. So if you notice, you have a personal and workspace over here, unlike iOS. So anything happens inside the personal stays in the personal space. Anything happening in the work stays inside the workspace. So this is the client for the Android, and you can also have the app catalog over here. And this is for the BYOD. So that is the reason you have this app catalog as well as the Google Play Stores. So currently I haven't pushed any application for Android. So you can push the Android applications over here. And as you notice, this is the Play Store for the enterprise. You see, these are the application being pushed by the Mobilelron. So you can new app connected to the Microsoft. So this is the secure. You see the email and calendar tasks being created under the workspace, and personal space I have a separate Gmail. Sorry. So this Gmail client, it's for your personal Gmail, and this is the work enterprise Gmail client. You have an option to use the enterprise Gmail client, or you can use the email plus by the Mobilelron. So this is how it looks on the Android. So if you have any questions, we can get to the Q&A session. Thank you guys for joining today's session. We'll see you soon. Next week there is a session for mobile threat defense. So I hope to see you guys again over there. See you.